What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 188. We're back in the Mustang. Christy.
What's up, guys?
Why are we in a 65 Mustang
I thought of
for
this
the
the other
second
day.
week in a row?
To be honest, sometimes when I'm driving this around, people are like, where'd you rent that? And I'm like, we didn't. My dad bought this in the 70s for dirt cheap. To be honest, I cannot believe it still runs. But this is truly my favorite car in the whole world. I'm such a vintage car girly. It is honestly the best. So it's fun to sit in here and record a podcast. I will be honest, it has stalled out a couple times today, so hopefully we will get through this podcast.
We're hoping we make it through. Yeah.
But I believe in it. I believe in this old girl. She
I
can
do
do
too.
it.
It's really quite the adventure every time we turn this thing on, because you never know.
You really never know
if it's going to make it where you
never
want to go.
know.
But welcome back to the show, guys. If you're new here, I'm Joey. This is Christy, with the founders of Creativ Rise. Creativ Rise is an education platform to help creatives just like you learn business. You can actually run a business, right? We are sold out on helping as many people as possible hit the six-figure mark in their business. And most importantly, once you get there, helping you figure out how to actually do that and maintain that, but working on the stuff you love, which is really, really cool. So we
totally
fundamentally believe you can break the creative struggle and you can get paid to do what you love. That's why we're doing this podcast. And I know that this episode is going to be helpful for you in doing that. So Christy, why don't you kind of intro the topic? And then I'll pick it up from there.
Yeah, so this topic, we kind of wanted to choose this one because we really believe this podcast is also a little bit of like a diary of us building our own creative businesses, the like highs and lows, what we're learning, the tools, all of that kind of stuff that we just get to share. And hopefully it helps creatives just like you also maybe avoid some of the pitfalls that we have, but also maybe learn a few things or two to grow your creative business. So one of those things happened this last week. We have, Joey, why don't you just tell us what the sales call that you did, which I know creatives oftentimes hate sales calls, but Joey actually really loves a sales call. I feel like
I love sales calls,
on sales calls.
You do too. You're really good at them.
But that was not natural for me. So if you're sitting there going, I am not a natural sales call person, you can learn, you can get better, and they can actually become really fun. And now I actually enjoy them. But I didn't start out that way. But Joey, talk to us about the sales call you just had and the deal you closed, and give just raw numbers too. Just go ahead and lay it all out there for the people.
Yeah, so I just had a sales call 2 days ago, closed a $17,500 deal for a brand build out, and I'm really excited about it. It was really cool. And I did something on the sales call that I think is really important to highlight. And it's something that I definitely did not used to do well. And it's something that I don't believe a lot of creatives really do well at all either. And it is how you navigate when someone has an objection, or you could flip that word and say, when someone has a question, they're questioning the value of your services. So take it back for a second. I got off this sales call. I got really excited about, obviously, the deal. I sent a quick video to our Creativ Rise community. It's a bunch of grads that have been through the mastermind. I said, hey, here's something that I was just reminded of on sales calls. Hopefully it encourages you this week. Take this and implement it in your business. And we got a really good response on that. And we thought, hey, we should maybe turn that into a podcast. So that's why we're doing this topic today. So here's how the sales call went. I got on this call because I had already sent a contract and an invoice, a deposit invoice, to a new client. Now, they had not signed the contract or given me the deposit for the invoice yet. And
they had verbally said that
they're like, hey, we want to do this, send it all over. And after I sent over the contract and the invoice, he sends me over an email, a nice email saying, hey, I've got a couple questions. Do you think you have time tomorrow to chat? And I went, oh, absolutely, I got time. So we set up a call, we jump on the call, and immediately I went into the call with one of two options. The two options are either I can go into the call going, oh gosh, he's got questions. He's probably going to ask me to prove why this is going to be worth his time and his money. And I can go into this being really defensive, or I can go into the call saying, oh, this is great. I'm excited to help this guy understand, and myself, if this is going to be a good idea to work together, if I'm going to be the best fit for him, and if he's really a good fit for our services. Therefore, we're both going to be able to get the best outcome for that client, going in on what I would like to call the offense.
Yeah.
So that is the second way. You can either go into a call really defensive, or you can go into a call really offensive, where you actually step around the table, sit with him or her, whoever your client is, and you look at the problem that you are trying to attack with your services together, and then you decide if your services are going to be a good way to actually solve that problem, rather than just going into a sales call going, oh gosh, the client's got some questions, and getting really defensive about it. Typically, that ends up losing you the job, because you end up fighting and trying to prove yourself to the client rather than helping them understand where the value is inside of your services and where you're going to help them get an ROI.
Yeah, I think that is such a great stance to go into a sales call with, of like, how do you solve the insecurity problem of sales calls? Because I know I was naturally this way. I know most creatives are naturally intimidated by the idea of going on and selling themselves in a service-based way to a client. And it can feel really intimidating to go into a sales call. But again, if you come into it as, what can we do together to get the outcome you want? That like eliminates so much of that, like, am I good enough? Or can I do this? It helps eliminate all of that stuff. And it creates a really fun atmosphere on a sales call, which I think is what you did. And so I think
100%.
Coming into a call, whether it's a first sales call or if it's a second sales call that you didn't know was coming, walk in with that mentality and you are going to be like way more confident with your client.
Yeah. So a good example of how I did that was when I first got on the call, we chatted, caught up for a second, and then I said, so, hey, tell me about what your questions are. He said, cool, here's my questions. My main question, this is what his words. He said, my main question is, I want to make sure we're not double paying for something that we've already done. He's like, we've invested in a little bit of brand stuff before, and some of this looks like it could be a duplicate. So like what you're giving us might be something similar to what we've had in the past, and I just want to make sure we're not double investing in something that we don't need to be spending the money on. So again, I have two options when I hear that. My first option is I can get really defensive and say, no. Like, let me show you why we're different. Let me show you why what I do is better than whatever you used to do. That's a horrible way to go at it. That's probably what I would have done when I was much younger and I was newer into this game. But instead what I did was I said, oh my gosh.
Or you get really insecure and you go, oh, fine, okay, let's just like X-nay that out of it, and you automatically just count yourself out of the game.
Yes. So what I did instead was I said, oh, dude, 100%. Let's make sure we go line item through line item here on all of the deliverables and make sure that you are not double paying, because that's not why I'm in business, is to take money from somebody that's already paid to do the exact service. That'd be a waste of my time, a waste of your time, and most importantly, a waste of your money. Immediately saying that, that's truthful. I actually believe that. Why would I want to charge somebody for something they've already had done?
Totally.
But immediately in saying that, I now join his team to look at the problem together and decide if each deliverable is actually worth it or not. So here's what I did. I said that, and then I said, so why don't you tell me a little bit about some of the brand work that you've had done in the past? And I said, was it this or was it this? When you go to the eye doctor and they go, what's better, 1 or 2? I kind of was asking him questions like that. Was it this or was it this? And he was giving me answers, and what he ended up realizing was, he said, you know what, I'm starting to realize what you're describing and what you're saying you're going to do for us is actually quite different than what we've invested in back in the day and prior to working with you. So I now realize that I actually need this service, which is great. So because I didn't just get insecure and go, yeah, let's not talk about that, I can get rid of that, he actually ended up doing it, which means my business makes more money, but more importantly, I'm able to impact his business and get his outcome that he actually came to me for in the first place. Where if we would have cut out that part of the deliverable, I wouldn't have been able to help him get the outcome he's actually there for. So it's so important, guys, that you don't get defensive or insecure, and you actually go, great, yeah, let's look at this with some honest eyes, and let's decide if you actually need this.
Totally.
This is a really, really great question. I'm glad you asked the question. Let's look at it together.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Very, very important.
Very important. And I think also with sales calls we were talking about this earlier. Tell them a little bit about the deliverables versus the reasoning behind things. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so when you look at a deliverable, it's important to not just look at, hey, what am I getting? How much is it? How long is the video? Or how many assets are in the brand build? How long is it going to take you? What's the timeline? Those are all important aspects of deliverables. But at the end of the day, those aren't going to be a make or break typically on why someone hires you or not. When someone's questioning their deliverables, what they're really questioning is the ROI attached to those deliverables. So when they say, hey, can you tell me more about that visual brand build? I want to know more about that. What they're really saying is, can you tell me more about what's inside of that and how it's actually going to help me get closer to my outcome? How is it going to get me an ROI? How are we going to make money off that? And so it's important that, again, you don't get defensive and go, whoa, we've been doing these deliverables for this long and we're so good at performing them or getting results. But you actually look and go, yeah, let me show you why this deliverable is going to help get the outcome that you already stated earlier on in the call that you guys are actually here for, that you really want. Very, very important.
Totally. And I think this goes for both weddings and brands, right?
100%.
Weddings and brands is that when someone asks you like, hey, how many images am I going to get for this campaign? You want to not just answer the what. Anytime someone asks you a what question, like how many, what am I getting, the specifics, they're really wanting to know the why. So anytime someone asks you a what question, I want you to challenge yourself and answer in a why statement. So if someone asks you, how many photos am I going to be getting this for this campaign? You can say, well, there are 30 images, but there's also 30 days on a monthly calendar usually. And so I want you to why we do that is because I don't want you to miss a day out of the calendar where you are not online, showing up, showing your services. I don't want a day to go by where the world doesn't know how they can buy from you, right? That's a huge selling point. Or let's say you hop on with a bride or a groom and they're like, you know what, how many hours am I going to be getting? And they're choosing between, a 6, 8, and 10 hour package. And you really want to sell them the 8 hour package. Instead of just being like, well, the 8 hour package because it's the most popular, you can say, well, most people's wedding days really you can encapture a full story within an 8 hour period. You get some of the getting ready, you also get the in-between, and then also maybe if your wedding's short enough, we can even get an exit. And that would be awesome. We can tell your story in a really documentary style way. So here's why I think the 8 hour package is probably what you want, depending on what you had told me earlier. And talking about the why is just so much more captivating to somebody than like, oh yeah, you get 30 images, or oh, it's 8 hours, that's all you get.
Yeah.
Always, always, always when you talk about your deliverables, talk about the why behind the deliverables, and people will upsell themselves. Like if you tell people why, they'll be like, oh, then I definitely need that next level one, right? And that's a really cool position to be on a sales call for sure.
And it's a much more honest way to help somebody see the value than having to just try and scramble. Oh, no, let me tell you about how good I am or how good this is.
Yes.
It's so much better if you go, well, let's just talk about why that might be valuable and maybe why it won't. So if we can talk about it, we can then make a really good decision on if it is actually something you need to invest in. So it's an honest, it's a humble, and it's what I would think actually, it's a respectful way to go about figuring out if it's a good fit to do that service or not.
For sure. I feel like sales calls, I'm just having this epiphany right now. Sales calls aren't about you. They're not about you.
No, they're not.
At all. They're about the result that you are trying to get somebody. Even if you want to start sales calls like that. If you want to start sales calls like, hey, this isn't even about me. This isn't about you buying from me. This is about you. This is about figuring out how maybe I could help you get the result you're really looking for. That just sets people at ease. Start using we language, not I language, and just get on their side of the table, and you'll find that your sales calls go so much easier.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I probably said that on that sales call. Hey, yeah, let's look at this because I'm on your team. The whole point of this call is to make sure that this is a good fit for you and that we are going to be able to get you the outcomes that you're actually here on this call to talk about you guys getting, right?
Yeah.
So guys, this is just, we'll wrap up with this. The biggest takeaway I think from this episode is that sales is an act of helping both you and them understand what deliverables are going to be absolutely crucial in order to get them the outcome they want. Trim the fat, get rid of all the stuff they don't need. It's just an honest way to do business. It's the best way to do business. And they are going to see that and respect you for that because they know you're not just trying to run it up and sell them on huge numbers. You're actually just trying to honestly solve their problem and solve their problem in the best way. And one of the best ways you can do that on a sales call is to focus on talking about how each deliverable can actually dictate what their ROI looks like, right? And so if they say, oh, I don't know if we got the money for that or the budget needs to shrink, cool. That's awesome. Well, if you shrink the deliverables, I do need to tell you, your outcomes might shrink a little bit as well. Or if you want much bigger outcomes, well, maybe we can get a little bit more budget there. And here's how that's going to dictate what your end result looks like. What is going to be best for you guys to do? How do we navigate that?
Yeah.
Put it back in their field. Let them, play the ball there. And you guys are going to get a great outcome from a call like that. And ideally, you'll get a great working relationship that is going to produce a phenomenal outcome for them, which is a huge win for your business.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Well, you guys, I hope this was so helpful. I feel like we were just talking about this earlier with somebody, and we were saying like, man, so many creatives, they focus on the things that don't actually build their businesses. Yeah. And I think that I've found myself in that place so often in my creative career, especially early on, you just are always like, if I could just perfect my editing, that's when I would really start having a thriving career. If I just get the next camera that I could afford, like, oh my gosh, if I just had the Mark V, I would just be so in right now in my business and things would finally start kicking off. And we just gotta say, some of those things, they're just like smoke and mirrors. Like, they don't actually create real change, real growth in your business. And like Joey and I said earlier, we're in this with you guys. Like, we are in it with you of like clearing the smoke, clearing the haze, going, hey, don't fall for other things that don't actually make a change in your business. We want to help you figure out what is the thing that's actually going to help move you forward. And what we found is that it's focusing on the business side of your business. It's focusing on the things that actually cause needle moving growth in your business, things like marketing, sales, all that kind of stuff. And then also community. I feel like community is a massive part of growing as a creative. And I know it can be so isolating for so many people. So if you're listening to this going, you know what, those two things, that I don't have a lot of like business knowledge. I don't have a lot of community around me right now. And I feel insecure and I feel like my business is not where I want it to be. First of all, I just want to say, know that you're not alone. Know that most creatives at all points in their career find themselves in that place at one point or another, and that there is hope to be growing a creative business that you can be really excited and proud of. And I just want to say, if that is you and you're listening to this, I want to say there are some options for you. Yeah. I would say we've got some options for you at Creativ Rise. A bunch of other creators got great things going on. But if you're someone who's like, hey, you know what? I'm kind of vibing with Joey and Christy. I kind of getting behind some of the stuff they're talking about. We have something really cool coming up. Joey, why don't you share about it?
Yeah, so we have the 12th round of the Creativ Rise Mastermind coming up. We are so thrilled about it. 12th round. That's crazy. There's been over 325 creatives over 5 years that we've got to intimately work with to help build six-figure business foundations for their business by helping them focus not on the creative stuff, but on the business stuff. Your creative has to be good. We all know that. But once your creative hits a certain point, as Christy just said, you got to start focusing on the business side of your business if you're actually expecting to get business results. So the 6-week Creativ Rise Mastermind gives you all of those tools, strategies, and frameworks to help you grow a six-figure foundation for your business so you can actually stop the guesswork, stop Googling stuff, going on YouTube, scrolling TikTok, trying to figure out what's going to work and doing a crazy amount of trial and error. And you can actually just get it given to you and you can start implementing on it, which is really cool. So throughout the 6 weeks, we got live calls. We got a ton of video content that we drip to you at an approachable rate so you can actually internalize it and act on it every single week. There is strategy calls that we do with you for your business. There's a ton of accountability resources to make sure you're doing the things you said you wanted to do in order for you to actually get the growth you want, and so much more. So it is like the all-in-one incubator, we believe, and we've structured it this way to get people results in their businesses by focusing on the business side. It's just a shame that a lot of creatives are not good at business. I wasn't either. You weren't either when you first started. But you don't have to stay there, as Christy said. There are options, and the Creativ Rise Mastermind is a great, great option. So the next one's starting on September 15th, which we are thrilled about. We're going to be going for 6 weeks there. We're going to take 30 to 35 businesses. We keep it pretty small so that we can be as intimately hands-on your business as possible in order for you to actually get results. So the dates you need to know are that applications are going to be launching September 1st.
September 1st.
September 1st, which is really cool. But here's the thing. The wait list fills all the applications really quickly every single time. So most of the time, we only have about 1 or 2 spots left to actually give away to from the mastermind for people that didn't get on the wait list. So your best shot at getting an opportunity to join the round 12 of the Creativ Rise 6-week mastermind is by getting on the wait list. The wait list is a non-commitment. Yeah, it's a non-commitment wait list. You just get on the wait list. We're going to give you all the information because, again, just like we're talking in sales, this whole episode, our goal is not to sell you into this. Our goal is to help give you all the information for you to make a really good, educated decision on if this would be a really wise investment for your business this year, end of 2024 and 2025. So get on the wait list. We'll give you all the information you need about the 6-week mastermind. And then you actually get early access to the application and some other bonuses, which are really, really cool. So,
super cool.
Yeah, how do they get on the wait list?
all you got to do is go to creativrise.com. It's in the show notes. It's on our Instagram. You can just DM us if you want. We'll shoot you the link, whatever that is. We would love to see if it's the right fit for you. So jump on that wait list. Again, non-commitment. It's awesome. And we hope to see your application come through because we'd love to get to know you and help you build your business. Thanks guys for listening. Again, this is a weekly podcast. So every single week we bring you totally free, just tools, tips, tricks, all that kind of stuff of how to build an awesome business. So we'll see you next week, guys.
Yeah, other than that, though, next week's going to be a great episode.
So it's going to be so good.
Make sure you're around for next week. It's going to be baller. It's not going to be in a 65 Mustang, but it's also not going to be in our studio, our normal studio. It's going to be somewhere really cool with a really cool guest. So you're going to want to be there. We'll see you guys next week. Keep building. We'll catch you there.